Good day, everyone. My name is Natalie Gail Talagan, and I will be your reporter. And our topic for today is about victim precipitation theory and incapacitation theory. But before we proceed to our main topic, since our topic is about theory, it is important for us to know first what is theory. So, do you have any idea what is theory means is? If none or none, let us now define it. So it is said here that theory is a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principle independent of the thing to be explained. So yun daw yung theory. So do you understand? If yes, let us now proceed to our first topic, which is the victim precipitation theory. So, do you hear this term before or somewhere? If no, let us now define what victim precipitation theory means is. It is said here that it is a criminology theory that analyzes how a victim's interaction with the offender may contribute to the crime being committed. It is said here too that it is a controversial theory kasi victims sometimes initiate the action which lead their harm and loss. It means that victim precipitation theory is a study of how the victims interact, provoke, sometimes contribute to the offender to commit a crime. So this victim precipitation theory is under the victimization theory. So I have an example here. A woman may become the target of domestic violence when she increases her job status and her success results in a backlash from a jealous partner or a spouse. So it is one of the example of victim precipitation theory. So to understand more, let's proceed to the next slide. So victim precipitation theory can happen in two ways. So the first one, the victim is the participants in the crime who act first. It means that the victims, siya yung nag-act muna para makomit ng offender yung crimes. The second one is the victim encourages or provoke the offender to commit a crime. So these are the primary components of the victim precipitation theory. And to understand more kung paano ba nabuo ang victim precipitation theory, let us now discuss the founder and its proponents. So our next slide is about Marvin Wolfgang. So who is Marvin Wolfgang? So he is the first to empirically investigate victim precipitation in 1958. So the phrase victim precipitation was first introduced by 20th century criminologist Marvin Wolfgang in his article entitled Victim Precipitated Criminal Homicide. So our next is Benjamin Mendelssohn. Who is Benjamin Mendelssohn? Mendelssohn was one of the first criminologists to create a victim typology in 1950s. So Benjamin Mendelssohn is one of its proponents. Our third is Hans von Hentig. So Hans von Hentig work was the basis for later theories of victim precipitation. So dito, victim precipitation suggests many victims play a role in their victimization. Are we clear with that? So let us proceed to the next slide. So we have two types of victim precipitation theory. First is the active victim precipitation theory. It is said here that it occurs when the victim deliberately acts in a provocative manner, uses abusive words or threats, or even attacked first. So I have an example. For example, or may kilala ba kayong mag-asawa and then yung asawa niya is lasinggero? If yes, baka pwede to. So, for example, the husband went home and he was very drunk. And, of course, the wife didn't please with it. Hindi nasasayahan yung wife dun sa attitude na pinapakita ng kanyang husband. That's why, magbubunga nga si wife. Magbubunga nga siya. And then, madami na siyang sasabing words. Magkakaroon ng threats na makikipag-iwalay na ako sa iyo. And then, of course, the victim the husband is drunk. Kaya, dahil dun sa natutuliro na siya, nabibingin na siya dun sa kakabunganga ng kanyang wife, nasaktan niya. And it is one of the example of active victim precipitation theory. So the next type of victim precipitation theory is the passive one. It is said here that passive precipitation occurs when victims unknowingly threaten or encourage the offender. So generally, this theory is talking about victims surely did something that initiate or stimulated the following crimes that happened to them. So here, victims is strongly linked back to criminals and crimes. So for example, a tattooed man was walking on a street and he was drunk. And then may samahan doon or tropahan sa isang tindahan na nakatambay. And then they saw this tattooed man walking on the street and he was drunk. And then because of that physical appearance of that tattooed man, sinabihan nila, "Uy, ang yabang na no, mayabang yan." And then binugbog nila. And then sa makatuwid, dahil siguro malakas itong tattooed man, may nasaktan siya. But hindi siya naman yung unang hindi siya yung unang nag-attack, kundi yung tinuturing na victim na nasaktan eh. Kasi sila yung nasaktan, pero sila naman yung nanguna. So it is an example of passive victim precipitation theory. So I hope you learn about victim precipitation theory. And now, let us proceed to our next topic, which is incapacitation theory. So what is incapacitation theory? Before, let us define what is incapacitation first. So incapacitation first means it refers to the act of making an individual incapable from the word itself, incapacitation, incapable of committing a crime historically by execution of banishment, and in more modern times by execution or lengthy periods of incarceration. So incapacitation theory is a theory that assumes that the state has the duty to protect the public from future wrongs or harms, and that such protection can be afforded through some form of incarceration or incapacitation. So incapacitation theory argues that reductions in crime rates are achieved through higher imprisonment rates, since the offender cannot commit new crimes while incarcerated. So it prevents the future crime by removing the defendant from society. So ito yung naghihiwalay doon sa taong ito na makapag-commit pa ng crime doon sa society niya, kaya hinihiwalay siya doon. And then doon siya, kapag hiniwalay siya, hindi naman siya basta ina-isolate lang, kundi ginagamot din siya by our correction. So here, one of its example is house arrest, execution pursuant of the death penalty. So, for example, a man commit a crime, and then, di ba, may naririnig tayo, minsan kapag nahuhuli na yung criminal, sasabihin nung nanay nung biktima na, sige, kulong niya yan. Kasi, para hindi na siya makapanakit pa ng ibang tao. So, ganun ginagawa. So, para hindi na makapanakit ng ibang tao itong offender na to. So, the government tinatanggal niya ito doon sa society or nilalayo niya ito sa society to prevent future crimes na mangyari ulit. So, the proponents of the incapacitation theory of punishment advocate that offenders should be prevented from committing further crimes, either by their temporary or permanent removal from society. So, that is the main goal of incapacitation theory, no? Ma-prevent yung na makagawa pa ulit ng crime itong tao na ito. That's why nagkakaroon ng incapacitation theory. So, to understand what is the difference between it two, tignan natin yung comparison. So, again, victim precipitation theory is a theory examines the role of the victim in the criminal act, while the incapacitation theory prevent future crimes by locking up offenders. So that's all for today, and I hope you learn a lot from me. And I am happy to bestow the knowledge I have about this topic. So, but before we end this discussion, I will left this quote by Immanuel Kant saying that experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is mere intellectual play. So again, I am Natalie Gail Talagan, and thank you for listening. Have a great day, and God bless you all.